There was a girl who lived with her widowed mother in a small community. Her father died when she was young. She was only 10 years old when he passed away from a strange illness. Since that day, it had been just her and her mother against the world. Her name was Chioma. Every day, Chioma and her mother fought to make ends meet. Her mother tried her best to see her through school, managing to train her from primary school up to junior secondary school, which was all she could afford. Chioma was mocked and embarrassed because of the situation of her family, and she was always bullied by the other children in the community. They always called her a witch. Chioma still remembered how her mother used to sing to her at night. Even when they went to bed hungry, she had to start hawking at a tender age. She had to wake up as early as 5 a.m. to arrange the goods she would sell. One day, her mother suddenly fell ill with the same illness her father suffered from before he died. Fear gripped Chioma. She couldn't bear the thought of losing her mother the same way she lost her father, and with no money for hospital treatment, she tried to hawk harder in order to get money to buy local herbs in hopes of saving her mother. Chioma hawked a butcher since that was her mom's trade. She had learned how to make it, which was why she woke up as early as 5 a.m. to start preparing it. Among her customers was her favorite, Mr. Ibuka, who always bought something from her. Sometimes it was a plate of a butcher, other times fish, and he often gifted her extra money, sometimes 100 Nigerian nairas, other times 200 Nigerian nairas, which never failed to make her happy. With no father figure in her life, Chioma began to see Mr. Ibuka as a father. Whenever he saw her, he would smile and call her my little businesswoman, assuring her that one day, she would make it big. Despite her young age, Chioma carried the weight of the world on her small shoulders. People looked at her with pity or with judgment. Some whispered that she was cursed, while others avoided her completely. But Chioma didn't care. She just wanted her mother to live, so on this particular day, she tied her worn scarf, packed her tray of a butcher and fish, and walked barefoot through the dusty streets of the community. Along the way, she met Mr. Ibuka. She greeted him with a very warm and welcoming face. He hugged her and asked her how she was doing and hoped she was okay. Chioma smiled and replied, "I'm fine, sir." When he asked after her mother, she simply said, "She's fine," hiding the truth about her mother's illness. She didn't want to tell him about her mother's illness. Then Mr. Ibuka said he wanted a butcher of 500 Nigerian nairas with a piece of fish. Chioma brought out a takeaway pack to dish it out for him. After dishing it out, she gave it to him. Then Mr. Ibuka dipped his hand into his pocket, then he paused. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, my daughter, I forgot the money. Can you please follow me home? I left the money in my drawer." Chioma didn't hesitate to follow him because he hadn't done this before and she completely trusted him. Then she followed Mr. Ibuka home. When they arrived, Mr. Ibuka opened his door and asked her to follow him inside. But she declined. She said she would wait outside with her tray of a butcher. Mr. Ibuka walked in and in less than a minute, he shouted loudly as if in distress. The innocent Chioma, concerned for his safety, ran inside to check on him. She had no idea that Mr. Ibuka had long-harbored darker intentions toward her. The moment she stepped inside, he grabbed her and slammed the door shut. Before she could react, he overpowered her and did unimaginable things to her for hours, ignoring her desperate pleas for mercy. Chioma was only 15 years old. She screamed and begged him to stop, her cries echoing through the small, isolated house. But no one came because Mr. Ibuka lived in an isolated area. Exhausted from struggling, she fainted. When he noticed she was unconscious and bleeding, fear gripped him. He splashed water on her face, but she didn't wake up. In a rush of fear, he quickly dressed himself, locked the door, and left her alone inside. Chioma's mother was already expecting her daughter because since she fell ill, she had grown used to Chioma checking on her several times a day before she continued to hawk. But today was different. Chioma had not shown up once. A knot of worry formed in her chest, worsened by the terrible terrifying dream she had the night before. Summoning the little strength she had, she tried to get up to go and look for her, but on getting to the front of the house, she fell down. She was feeling too weak to stand. She lay down outside on the ground helplessly, waiting for Chioma to come and help her. Neighbors were passing, but none stopped. Fear of her illness kept them at a distance because they believed if anyone came close to her, they would contract the illness. Chioma's mother cried out for help, her voice breaking, but nobody stopped to listen to her. It was already getting dark, the sun was sinking, shadows creeping in. Meanwhile, Mr. Ebuka had gone back to his house. Then he saw that Chioma was already awake. Her body ached badly, her eyes were swollen from crying, and she was still very weak, her voice trembling as she begged him to let her go, pleading that her mother might die if she didn't get home soon. At first, Mr. Ebuka seemed relieved she was awake, but his selfishness returned, darker and heavier. Ignoring her frailty and her fear, he tried to force himself on her again. Chioma, exhausted and broken, promised through sobs that she would never tell anyone what had happened, if only he would let her go. But the moment Chioma mentioned that she would tell no one, a flicker of fear crossed his face. He got scared because he was a well-respected person in their community, and the thought of his reputation being ruined shook him. Still, his greedy desires overpowered his fear. He pulled down his trousers. Summoning the last of her strength, Chioma let out a sharp, desperate scream. He rushed forward to silence her by using his hands to cover her mouth. She fought back with what little energy she had left, but he overpowered her. In a frantic attempt to keep her quiet, he grabbed a pillow and pressed it over her face. They struggled. Her muffled cries grew weaker. Minutes dragged on until, about 5 minutes later, her body went still. He pulled the pillow away. Chioma lay there, motionless, her eyes open, her heart no longer beating. His hands shook. Fear gripped him now in full. Quickly, he dressed up and hurriedly dressed her as well. Then, lifting her limp body into his arms, he stepped outside. Since the area around his house was remote, hardly anyone came there, and now the night had settled in. Using the darkness as his cover, he carried her to a lonely spot and left her there. Without looking back, he fled into the shadows. At the same time, Chioma got home, her heart heavy and her anger simmering as she saw her mother lying helpless on the ground, with neighbors passing by and doing nothing. She rushed over, helped her mother inside, and quickly apologized for returning late. Her mother embraced her tightly, and tears streamed down her face. Chioma wasted no time. She prepared a simple meal, fetched some herbs, and urged her mother to eat. Once her mother had taken the food and medicine, Chioma gently told her to rest. Exhausted, her mother fell asleep almost immediately, unaware that it was not her living daughter who had returned but Chioma's spirit. That night, Chioma was unusually silent, her presence almost too still, but her sick and weary mother didn't notice. Hours later, her mother woke up from the noise she was hearing outside. She was feeling a bit better, so she stepped out. Then she saw people gathered, pointing and whispering. Following their gaze, her eyes froze on the side before her, Chioma's lifeless body lying in the dirt. A piercing scream tore from her throat as she ran toward her daughter, shouting her name again and again at the top of her voice, but she got no reply. An elderly man stepped forward, his voice low, telling her they had found Chioma's body early that morning, cold and lifeless, and that it looked like she had been dead for some time. Her mother's eyes widened in disbelief. "That's not true," she cried. "I slept beside my daughter last night." Her voice trembled as she looked around, but the faces staring back at her were filled with pity and doubt. Whispers spread. Some shook their heads, murmuring that grief had driven her mad. One by one, they turned and walked away. Left alone, Chioma's mother broke down completely. She fell to the ground, wailing and pounding the earth with her fist. She pleaded with the men nearby to help her bury her only child, but they ignored her as if she were invisible. Then the skies opened and heavy rain poured down. Soaked to the bone, she sat there in the mud, cursing whoever had done this to her child. Her voice echoing in the storm. When the rain eased, she rose slowly, her eyes hollow and lifeless. She carried her daughter into the house, took a rope, and without hesitation, hanged herself beside her daughter's body. Nobody came to check on her mother even though they knew she was grieving. Days later, the foul odor of their corpses drew the attention of the neighbors. Curiosity overcame fear, and they entered cautiously. The sight before them froze their blood, mother and daughter, side by side in death. After several debates, they made a chilling decision: there would be no burial. Instead, they carried their bodies deep into the forest and left them there, unmarked and forgotten. That was how their lives were stolen from them, but the forest did not stay silent. On certain nights, villagers would swear they heard the faint sound of a girl's cries mingled with a woman's curses, carried by the wind, a reminder that some wrongs never rest and some spirits never forgive. In a village that turned its back on the weak, justice came not by law but by the restless spirit of the wronged. As for Mr. Ibuka, the curse did not work on him directly, it took root in his bloodline. After he married, he fathered 5 children, and each one died mysteriously upon reaching the age of 15. His wife, broken by grief, took her own life. Misfortune shadowed his every step, and madness soon claimed his mind. One fateful day, they found him lying dead in the middle of the road, his eyes wide open, as though he had seen the very spirit he thought he had escaped.